Hello everyone, how are you doing today? I'm back with another video, and in today's video we have a cell phone. One is a Motorola G8 model, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how to replace the power jack or power supply jack right here, USB micro USB jack right at the bottom, the charge port, whatever you want to call this one, charge port, power jack, or micro USB jack. I'm gonna show you, take you step by step how to replace it. If you plug in your charger, you have to keep it in a position to charge it. Then probably you have your charge port damaged. Before we get started, the tools that you're gonna be needing, obviously a new a new one, a new charge port. It can be anything near that with the hooks or without the hooks. We're gonna improvise. So I'll try to get the link for the correct one. Here I have one right here. You need a screwdriver set. I use the UFIXTEK tool set, as they have one of the best bits out there. These are S2 class steel. We're going to be using a Phillips 000. And second most important one is an opening tool. For the opening tool here, we're going to be using a whole bunch of the guitar pick, a metallic guitar pick. We're going to be using about 3 or 4 of them. You will need a hot station, which I use right here. It's a hot station. I'll leave the link in the description. You need a solder iron. This one is a TS100 electric one at 12 volt. And obviously you need some flux and some solder. And again, you need some solder wick or desoldering wick. Alcohol, isopropylic alcohol, 95% plus. Scissors. For this video, I'm going to be using a microscope so you can see it close up, but this one is not necessary. This one is here to just show you guys when I get close down to it. And you will need a working towel to work on. Some shop towels. It's easy to work on these ones. And get some Q-tips. They are good to clean up the workplace on the board. Alright, let's get into it. Let's get started. First thing first, power it up, or if it's off, leave it off. We're going to remove the SIM card by punching through the hole on the side. You should know this. Remove the tray, remove your SIM chip. Now, once we got that out of the way, we are going to start off by at the bottom by the power jack, USB charger. We're going to stick the guitar pick in between the blue or the whatever color you got and the top cover. You're going to stick it right there, just like this. And we are going to walk it around, just scroll it right all the way down here, and we're going to just lift it up a little bit, just a little bit. And go to the other side, lift it up a little bit, and now we're going to leave it right there. We're going to bring the second one here around the corner. Make sure you just bring it, roll it down, and somehow slide it right under the case and just stick it right there. Now that one came out, that's fine. The reason we put it there is just so the case won't go back in. Now we're going to walk through, come back through here, just scroll it. Come back here on top of the power button and then lift it up. This case is broken here, so don't worry, it's not that I broke it. You want to bring it all the way here, walk through, walk where the jack is on the corner, go back on the bottom. Bring it up again, and now do the other side. Once you do this side, and the case should come out pretty easy. Alright, down here we're going to put a face-to-face because we don't want to rip this flex cable, which is for the ID touch here, fingerprint. Now we're going to start removing the top plate here. We know that the power jack is here, but we need to disconnect the battery to work on this one. It's not too necessary, but I would recommend you guys do it. So we're going to remove all the screws that we see on the top cover. And there's a screw with a white paper on it, so we need to remove that too. Sometimes you have it in a different location. And go ahead and remove all the screws. Use a magnet to make life easier. The screws are all the same size and height, so don't worry about mismatching them. And now that we remove all the screws here, we are just going to slide it right underneath, and we're going to lift up this case, just peel it off, wiggle it around, and it should just come. It's just a plastic holding it together. The camera on this one, it stays right on the top, so when you push it down, make sure the camera just goes down. You can remove it. It has a little adhesive, but leave it right there. Now we're gonna lift up this board, this flex cable for the LCD, just by simply putting your fingernail underneath. Don't put any metal thing underneath. You want to make a short fingernail underneath and just pop it open. It will just come out, it just pops up. And now this is the battery connector. Same thing with your fingernail under the jack and lift up the connector. Pull it to one side, Touch ID, remove the Touch ID. Now we're gonna flip it over and we're gonna work on the bottom side. Remove the screws. Again, there's a one screw with a white paper on it, so with a warranty label. So remove that. Obviously, you should know by doing this, you're voiding your warranty. And this is a physical damage, so it is not covered under the warranty. Power jack are not covered under warranty. So once you remove all the screws, go ahead and lift up this cover right here. Just comes up, that's the speaker. Remove this Touch ID right here on the bottom. I'm guessing these are for the bottom touch right here. Remove it up. Or digitizer, that's for the digitizer. You won't need a tweezers. Grab any sharp tweezers. Remove this antenna cable right here. Just peel it off towards the ceiling. Now we need to remove this board, but this board has a little adhesive on the back end. You're gonna set your hot station at 120 degrees, and you're just gonna run about 10 seconds the hot station over the board, just like that, to warm it up a little bit, not heat it up. You just want to warm it up for 10 seconds. And then you want to use a tweezer to just under the board to lift up the board towards the outside. And there's your board. Some boards don't come with adhesive and some do. Once you got the board, you see the power jack or USB charge port is right, this rubber. Lift up the rubber right here, put it to one side. Now we can see the whole power jack exposed right there. Now we need to desolder this one here. And before we desolder, we're gonna cover up the surrounding the case. So we're gonna use a aluminum foil tape. This is optional, but I would recommend you to do it. So just cut like 2 strips. Now we're gonna put it beside it on the board, but then we're gonna just rotate. In this way we can protect the component for it to work nicely on them, so we don't actually damage any components. You don't have to cover up all the components. I'm just covering so it makes a kind of handle for me to hold on it. All right, just put it like that. There we go. Now we got this one right here, ready to go. So I'm gonna grab my handy this is my really old, I've been with this one for over 20 years. I just don't want to get a new one. This is kind of rusty, but does the job. Grab your clippers and turn on your soldering iron. Alright, now that the soldering iron is heated up, what I'm gonna do first, I'm gonna apply a little bit of flux on the sides, on the pins at the back, on the side, and on this side, and a little bit underneath on every pins. So what the flux it does, it brings down the melting temperature for the solder. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pick up a little bit of solder on the tip of my solder iron, and I'm gonna actually add a little bit of solder to each leg, so it mixes up with the old solder. Do that for every leg. This process helps you a lot. And we're gonna add a little bit on the back, on the legs at the back. do on the sides. There we go. Now we're gonna go to the hot station. Set up your hot station to about 370 and keep it straight over on the top. And with the tweezers, I'm just gonna go simply, once I see the solder melt, I'm just gonna lift it up and it should come out pretty easy. So this is the old power jack. So now we need to clean up this and the pads here. So we're gonna remove this. We're gonna put this to one side. I'm gonna do it under my microscope so you guys can see it. So pretty much what we're gonna do here is to clean up the old solder by using a flux over these components. Grab the wick and just plan it out a little bit and add a little solder to one side of the wick. It makes it easy for the old solder to get absorbed. So we add the flux in there and we're gonna put this one over on top and we're gonna hold it down for a few seconds for the solder to get absorbed. So you see the solder is getting absorbed. There we go. We're gonna do on the pads, same thing. Now we can actually cut the tip because we got a little too much here. We're gonna cut it down and we're gonna clean up on this side. Hold it there for 3-4 seconds, let it absorb nicely. Do a second run if you wish. There we go. Now we're gonna clean up the pads. The pads are nicely cleaned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pads. That's fine. There's no missing pads here. So we're gonna clean up the workspace by applying a little bit of the alcohol on the top of the Q-tip. And we're gonna clean it up. Clean up all the contacts. Always keep your workplace clean. There we go. Now we're gonna prep the new power jack. We're gonna prep it up by adding a little bit of flux right on the pins. Just to damp it in there. And let me bring this one to here. And what I'm gonna do, I am gonna just clean up the tip of my solder. I'm gonna apply a little bit of the solder on the tip. So this makes it easy for it to sit down once I put it down. And let's go ahead and apply a little bit of the flux. I apply flux, so I'm put a little bit of flux in here. There you go. Now, if you pay attention, the original power jack has a hook, so it has a like tiny hooks that goes on the board. This one has a flat hook, so the hooks on this ones are really flat, and this one has a hook that goes right in the board. So it doesn't matter if it is a flat or not flat, as long as you solder the corners on the board, you're fine. Now that we added a little bit of flux on the board, we're gonna do a little bit of pads with the solder, so we get a little solder on those pads. So do a little overpass, just like this. Just on the pins. Okay. Now we're gonna sit it down, and what we're gonna do here, align it nicely. Once we align it, we're gonna do a little one solder on this one. You see, this one I got a little bit of solder on both pins, so just do a pass on it. Alright, now that we soldered the pins are really nicely soldered in there. Double check, make sure that all the pins are soldered in. Now we're gonna put a little solder joint on the sides. My solder iron just shut down for a little bit, so let it heat up. So we're gonna add a little flux on the legs on the side. And let's grab a little solder on the tip, and we're gonna add it right in there. If you get the right power jack, you're gonna be fine, don't worry. It's just that I can't get my hands on the right power jack, so I'm just improvising. Because if you get lots of flux, you can just absorb it with this wick. Alright, now I'm gonna flip it upside down and do a little pass on the other side. So I'm just gonna add a flux right in there so it can go through and hit the jack on the other side. And there we go. Now let's clean up and see if it fits in the casing. You can just clean it up with an alcohol, the board, because of the adhesive from the from the tape. Clean up with a toothbrush, both side. Grab the bottom case and let's see if it fits in there. If it doesn't, then I have to get the right jack, and luckily it does fit and there's no issue with it. So there we go. And before we put it in there, obviously let's put the rubber that I have no idea where it went. It's right over here. Let's put this rubber thing on top, see if the rubber protective thing is gonna fit. If it fits, put it on top. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. It's not gonna do a big difference or anything like that. There we go. It sits nicely right on top. Beautiful. Now we're gonna lock down the trackpad, the touch screen, and we're gonna bring down this antenna, and we're gonna put it right on top and press it down. It's just a push down. Run it nicely. Run the power cable right through it. This one I line it on top and just press it down, the LCD cable. And grab the speaker at the bottom and just put it on top. Make sure the cable is not on the way. There we go. Now we're gonna start by putting a few screws at the bottom to keep it in place. Now let's put down the touchpad, just punch it in there. Grab this one, remember the camera is right in there, so you bring it over, plug it in there, just push down the cover in place. And once the cover in place, just put one screw beside the cameras. And we can run a test and see if it works. I'm gonna put one right at this corner. And let's get the cable and test it out. So let's just set it like this, and before we put the whole thing back together, just connect the cable, the charging cable, and see if it's gonna start charging. There we go. Now it's powered on and it's gonna start charging, and now it's rock solid right in there. Okay, I'm just gonna disconnect it. Now let's go ahead and finish up. I'm putting the rest of the screws and just pop back again the cover. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, if you find my videos helpful, and if you have any question or request, feel free to leave them in a video comment. I always try to answer them. If you want to support the channel, just click that like button on the video and think about subscribing. It really helps and motivates me to make more videos for you guys and take requests from you guys. I really appreciate it. I am missing one screw somewhere here in the middle. There we go. Now grab the back case, just bring it down. Always make sure put the audio jack volume rocker down first on this side. Pinch it down and then go all around and then pinch the rest together. And make sure you hear that click. And there we go. Now you see the power jack sits nicely in place and it's not even coming out or anything like that. So it's perfectly in place. And again, let's connect it. There we go. And it should start charging. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video.